Hi guys, I hope you're good. Let's have a look at the Monero chart, aka XRM. So as you guys can see, I have the monthly chart open as I usually start off my analysis on the monthly charts. And the first thing that I can already see in regards to the monthly chart of Monero is that we have this candlestick over here, which has a very long wick and a relatively small body, which tells us that where that wick ends at the top, we have a whole lot of liquidity at that point, and that the market needs to at some point head up to collect that liquidity, right? And remember that liquidity areas actually represent money that needs to be grabbed by the market, right? And as I said, the market will at some point head to that level to grab some liquidity. In fact, before we proceed, I think I'm just gonna add a line to that liquidity area because it is extremely important. Also, just bear in mind that the area also seems to be a very strong level of resistance. As you guys can see, I'm just gonna make this a blue color. Just bear with me while I do so. Let's see. There we go, right? And as I said, guys, this level is also a very strong level of resistance due to the fact that we had multiple touches or multiple rejections of price at this particular level over here, right? Anyway, let's proceed. So what else do we see in regards to the monthly chart of Monero? Over and above the fact that we have this candlestick, which is a liquidity candlestick, we also have this one as well, which is carrying a whole lot of liquidity at this level as well. However, at this point in time, this particular one is not that important as price is still very much far off from where this candlestick is. At this point, we will just focus on this one, right? Anyway, let's proceed, right? So what else do we see in regards to the monthly chart of Monero? Another thing that is also very much interesting that I see is the fact that we have what seems to be an inverted head and shoulders pattern forming, right? With this being the left shoulder, this being the head, and this possibly being the right hand shoulder, which at this point in time seems to be information. At this point, I can't really regard it as a right hand shoulder, but there's a chance that it might reject at this level and then head to this level over here, right? Anyway, let's proceed. So what else do we see? I don't see much at this point in time. What I will do is head down to the weekly chart. So here we are on the weekly chart of Monero. So what do we see on this chart, which is the weekly chart of Monero? Remember on the monthly chart, I spoke about this particular pattern over here, right? And as I said, this is the left hand shoulder of that inverted head and shoulders pattern. This is the head, and this could possibly be the right hand shoulder. So what may actually happen from here is that price may actually push further up to around this point. Why do I say this point? That's because that is a very strong level of resistance, as we had multiple touches at that level. To add to that, we also had that candlestick that I spoke about, which is carrying a whole lot of liquidity at that level. So it would make sense actually for price to head to this level over here to not only complete this inverted head and shoulders pattern, but also to grab that liquidity that's sitting at that level as well, right? So let's proceed. So what else do we see in regards to this particular chart, which is the weekly chart of Monero? Another thing that is also very much interesting is the fact that we have these two candles over here. These two candles over here are very much similar to this one over here, in that they too are carrying a lot of liquidity at this level as well. So as you guys can see, there's plenty of scope for price to keep moving up, right? And that is because number one, we have, as I said, we have number one, this pattern over here, right? That's number one. Number two, we have this level over here which is carrying liquidity at that point, and number three, we have these two candles which are also carrying liquidity at that point. So as I said, there is scope for price to keep moving up. Nonetheless, having said that, I'm not necessarily saying that we should just buy, because we need reasons and we need confluence before we can actually make any buying decisions, right? Having said that, let's proceed. So what else do we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to, which is the weekly chart? I don't see much except the fact that we have what seems to be just bear with me, we have what seems to be a very nice W structure over here, which I believe will be better visible on the daily chart, and it has a neckline at that point. We can see that, or rather, you guys know that when it comes to W structures, ideally we would love to see price break above the neckline and then head back to the neckline and push further up, and this is where we would look for possible buying opportunities. Similarly, we can see that price has broken the neckline and came back to retest the neckline, and possibly we should look for buying opportunities at this point, right? And that also is in line with the fact that we have this particular inverted head and shoulders pattern, right? So that's confluence, right? But we need further reasons for actually buying. We need further reasons. That's not reason enough for us to be buying, right? Anyway, let's proceed. The next thing that I'm going to do actually at this point in time is head down to the H4 chart. Let's see H4 chart. So here we are. Sorry, before we go to the H4 chart, let's go to the daily chart rather, excuse me. Yeah, so here we are on the daily chart, and the first thing that I'm going to do in regards to the daily chart is add my daily channel. So just bear with me while I do so. Let's see, daily channel. Yeah, okay. So there goes our daily channel. Just bear with me. There goes our daily channel. So that's confluence number 5, I believe, because we can see that the daily chart is in an upward trend, as you guys can see. Anyway, let's proceed. So what else do we see? So on the weekly chart, I spoke about the fact that we have a W structure over here, which has a neckline at around this level over here, and I said that price came back to retest the neckline, and at this point we might see price move further up, right? Anyway, I'm just gonna add, let me just zoom in a bit. Actually, I'm just gonna add a neckline to that W structure because it is very much important, so just bear with me while I do so. Let's see. So there goes our neckline of the W structure, and remember guys that necklines are an area and not so much a line, right? So in fact we can actually say that this entire area here is the neckline of the W structure, right? So what else do we see? Another thing that I also see in regards to this particular pattern is that as much as, or rather this particular chart, as much as we have this W structure and a neckline at this level, we also have another W structure at this point. In fact, it's a head and shoulders pattern, or a triple bottom if you want to call it that, which has a neckline at this point, right? So what I would do at this point in time is, in fact, before I continue, I'm just going to add a neckline to that structure as well, because it is also very much important. So just bear with me while I edit. So this is the neckline of this triple bottom, right, or this inverted head and shoulders pattern, right? Anyway, let's proceed. So as I said, what I would do at this point in time, because my bias as it is for the market to continue to push further up, is I would wait for price to actually break above this particular neckline over here, and for it to come back to retest the neckline. Once it does so, I will look for possible buying opportunities, as the anticipation, or rather my anticipation, is for price to continue moving further up, right? At least to this level over here, which is a very strong level of resistance, as we have as you guys can see, multiple rejections at this level, right? Yeah, so that is it in regards to the daily chart. Having said that, I think we also need to be careful, because as much as we have this pattern over here, right, we also have what seems to be an M formation at this level, which has a neckline at more or less the same level as the neckline of this W structure, which makes things a little bit tricky, because what could actually happen is, because we have an M structure here and the neckline has been broken, price may head back to the neckline again and then push further down, right? Price may push further down, so we need to be careful. Hence I say that it's probably best, in my humble opinion, to wait for the market to break above the neckline of that triple bottom, and for price to come back to the neckline to test it, and possibly look for buying opportunities at that level. Because as I said, we have this M structure which has a neckline over there, and normally when it comes to M structures, guys, as I said, we would love to see price break to the bottom side, head back to the neckline, and then push further down. So that may also happen still at this level, that price may head back here and then push further down. So I think, in my humble opinion, I would wait for price to break above that neckline and then for price to head back to the neckline, and this is where I would look for possible buying opportunities. When should price come back to the neckline, I'm not just gonna buy, I'm going to look for further reasons for why I should be buying, and then should my criteria be met, I will be looking to buy. And as I said, my take profit should be this level over here, because it's a very strong level of resistance, right? So from here, I'm just going to head down to the H4 chart. On the H4 chart, I'm just going to fix my my trend lines, so just bear with me. Let's see. So there goes my trend line, more or less, right, which is the daily trend line rather. So we're on the H4 chart. On the H4 chart, we can see that as much as we have this triple bottom, we can also see that price seems to be at the moment moving sideways, right? And a breakout is imminent. Myself personally, I would love to see price break out rather to the top side, come back to the neckline, and then push further up to those levels that I spoke about, which are these levels over here, which would be my take profit level, right? So that is it, guys, as far as my analysis goes in regards to XMR. My bias is for price to continue moving up. Having said that, just bear in mind that the world at this point in time is a little bit unstable, and anything can happen rather, especially in regards to fundamentals, right? And as much as, just to go back to the daily chart, right, as much as we're looking for possible buying opportunities, as I said, due to fundamentals, there is scope also for price to continue to move further down. Because I just want to go back to the monthly chart to show you another thing that is also very much interesting. On the monthly chart, another thing that is also very much interesting is the fact that we have this candlestick over here. It is a bearish candlestick with a relatively long lower wick, which tells us that we have liquidity at this point, and that at some point, it may take years, it may take decades, it may take weeks, it may take months, but price may or rather at some point has to come back to this level to grab that liquidity, right? But for now, my bias is to be looking for buying opportunities, but we just have to be careful and monitor the situation, especially the fundamental information, right? So that is it, guys, and as far as my analysis goes, I hope that makes sense, and peace out.